to administration about that, so that's taking place.
Thank you. Board, are there any questions? Yes, what, excuse me. Go ahead, Mr.
All right, Mr. Wilson, before I go into this, just want to let you know that I, and I'm sure I'll speak for the entire board, fully support and appreciate what you're doing with our band. We really like what you brought to our district. All right. When I was looking at the numbers that we had got an email a little while ago with the cost, and then I compared it to today, I came up with a different number than the 41.3 or the 33.3. I came up with 26,960. All right. Do you have the numbers? Because I think I see a couple things that might have been double counted. Okay. The cost of the bus. Bus that should be right. And going to Birmingham, that would be 12,000. 18. I'm sorry, 18,960. Right, but I think,
Numbers.
and just looking at it and just eyeing it up right now because I do numbers all day, I could see there was two things that were added twice. The 6,400 was added twice, and the 8,000 was added twice. So I think our actual number, if you want to run it through and double check, is 26,960. I mean, I wouldn't have any problem approving the amount, but I do see that there's a discrepancy in the amount, and it looks like it's double counted. Okay. All right. So I'm pretty sure that the amount would actually be $26,960, and we can double check that.
You're right, Mr. Roberts. The 8,000 was recorded this twice.
And I believe the 6,400 was recorded twice also. I think it was added to the 12,560, making the total for the Birmingham trip was 12,560. But when it was carried down as the 18,960. And I see that was the difference of the 6,400.
I'm gonna own that because I worked with Mr. Wilson on doing it.
Mhm.
We sat down
And
together, I'm gonna create this document, so
okay.
we will correct that.
All right, now I apologize if I had looked at it in advance. I just glanced over it now. So if I had really looked at it in advance, we could have averted having to deal with it like right now. So I apologize for that.
So what is the corrected dollar amount, please?
So I'm gonna say this. I think the higher amount is some leeway in case. I'm not saying the whole amount, but you don't have to spend the whole amount. It'll be actual amounts that's sent to the bank. But the budget would give some freedom if you need another room or another 2 rooms or something like that.
Quarantining.
Some a little flexibility. So I would. You said the total amount was 26.
A little under $27,000, 26,960.
So I'm sorry, what are we saying, that we're gonna leave it at the 33 or do the
No, I think we
27?
should amend it to 30,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can we amend it and say we're gonna change it to say up to? But I was waiting for Miss Barbara to be able to ask her question.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm still trying to follow. So we're saying it's gonna be 30,000 up to 30,000.
Up to 30,000. And I'd like to sit down with you. I just want to see that.
Right. Understood. Like I said, I wish I had seen it sooner than right now as I'm looking at it. Yeah, I didn't notice it when I looked at it the first time.
Okay.
Thank you. Miss Barbara.
Mr. Wilson, how many students are we taking?
45.
45. And how many chaperones do we have?
Right now, I have 5 chaperones. That's my assistant to myself.
Uh-huh.
And I have one confirmed parent. A couple other parents are here today to get there. That's I require the parents to have it as we have parents before.
Okay.
Go on the trip.
Very good.
So how many chaperones do you actually need?
I only need 5.
You
I only
need-
have 45.
Oh, okay, so you only really need 5, right?
Yeah, but I know that the parents like to travel, and that was one of the questions when I first came to the district.
Uh-huh.
Travel with the parents.
Okay.
And I think it's important when we have the parents, travel with the band, So I support that. But they still have to just, there's some ground rules that I would like to set up to keep the structure going, because like they didn't know me, I don't know them also, but to keep the kids safe, I need to make sure that they're for the group too on these trips. Now they can travel in their own car, travel with it, but if they're gonna be on the bus and things like that, I need to make sure that they are.
And I'm going to piggyback
Go ahead. Go ahead.
what Earl said. I think so far you have done a fantastic job. And I just feel that you're just an access to what we need, what we're looking for, a commitment. And I think you have that. So I'm very appreciative.
Thank
Mr.
Madam
Wilson,
Chair,
based upon your past experience, what's a ratio of chaperone to band member ratio that you're comfortable with? What
1 to 10 to 15, depending on the student, and it depends on the discipline of the student.
Yes, sir.
But I was just in band camp. There's a lot of things that we don't have.
Mhm.
But the great thing about that is I have the solutions to our problem already solved because it's going to be solved in band camp.
Understood.
So we're to answer the question, 1 to 10 is normal.
Okay.
One chaperone.
Understood. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. And I think Mr. Freeman had a question. Go
I
ahead.
did. Mr. Wilson, I know I've heard the band a couple times, and even in practice, they sound great. It's a different, clear sound, and other people are saying that too. As far as uniforms for you, are you needing something like a new uniforms, or what are you thinking about uniform?
Yes, right now I'm trying to create a uniform for both the students and the directors. Right now we're just because of the time,
I got you.
I had ordered some warm-up real fast.
I got you.
Just playing, but I was just expressing to the parents last night, I like to make sure that the students understand when you travel places, that they're not just band members and they're not just Warrensville marching Tiger Band, they're ambassadors of the school district, the community, and overall state of Ohio. So that's how they're going to be traveling. That's how they're going to carry themselves. Like when we pull up at the hotel, everyone has a blue duffel bag, when we get off. So it's all in unison. It makes the students feel good, and it also lets the people know when we bring in, students in the hotel, they're about this. So I usually, for example, I'm the first one to enter the hotel. I have all the rooms together, and then I, get the kids their hotel keys, and we all walk in single file. They don't slam doors, the little latches and stuff like that that's in the door. So, we're teaching them all those things because all the way in the hotel, they're not doing nothing.
Okay.
So people are there for rest and relaxation. So I like for them to be in a situation where we have letters, positive letters coming from everywhere we go, coming back to the district talking about our wonderful scholars, how well they did.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you so much. I think there was one final question. Go ahead, Member
Yeah,
Gaynor.
or maybe two. But so, what are the actual dates for the? I'm looking. I don't see it for the.
Kentucky State.
Yeah, for both of
For
them.
both.
Kentucky State, we leave, we're supposed to leave that Friday morning.
This
at
Friday.
6 a.m.
Okay.
This Friday coming up?
This Friday.
Oh.
6 a.m. I think the itinerary was attached.
To the
So we pretty much stick to our itinerary. We're going to arrive on campus around noon. We're going to be a part of the festivities of the block party. And then after that, we'll watch the aircraft.
It was sound.
We have them watching the University marching band practice. We'll see how those things, work. The band director will talk to the student. The section leader will talk to the student. Then they'll get that overall college experience, and then we'll check this out.
Okay.
That's perfect time in there, itinerary, the time to eat, the time to lunch. And we usually pay for the lunch is always on the students, because we like to have a variety of things that we can stop at. A place where we have at least multiple restaurants that they can choose to select from. The breakfast and dinner is always covered. Make sure we have that.
Okay. All right. And then thank you for that. And then the other thing that I wanted to ask is about the testing protocols. Oh, that's you. I was going to say. 72 hours in advance. So that means that you said they took their test today?
So they have to just they have to have a test, a negative test before they get on the plane. So.
Taken within 72 hours. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Taken within 72 hours.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha.
They got yesterday, and Friday. So they've been emailing me or texting me, parents text me either their vaccination card
Okay.
laptop, and then the prompter takes them through the steps. So we get away from the, them just signing whatever they want. We
Gotcha.
no checks and balances.
Okay. So, and then once they get there, what happens if, all right, so I took my test 3 days ago, but now it's Saturday. Little Johnny is coughing and he doesn't feel good.
And we just isolate that.
Okay. Just based on the symptoms
Based on
and no testing until they get back, or? Okay.
because according to the CDC, it states that they have to enter the system. It needs to take 3 to 5 days. Here, our district here, they're on the side after 5 days. Because if, for instance, if I had COVID and I was around within 6 feet, the 15-minute time slot, CDC recommends that you don't get tested today or tomorrow. You actually wait 3 to 5 days. And we wait air precautions and wait 5 days so we can make sure that it's detected. So the student or the individual don't have a false positive test or false negative.
Okay. Do you know what the protocols are at the colleges that you're going? Are they doing mask mandates or? I mean, I know that we're telling our kids to wear masks, but what do you know what their protocols are?
They have mask mandates also.
Okay.
I talked to several college band directors, administrators, as far as what they're doing. For instance, Tennessee State University, they test their students every week,
Okay.
sometimes twice a week. So during the season and the weather is about to change, so we want to make sure there's going to be a continuation with our kids and our students, make sure that they're tested.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like you guys have got a pretty good handle on it. And I'm assuming that our parents are signing the proper permission slips. And in terms of, in case somebody gets sick, we're covered because they've signed off on it, right? Yeah. Cool. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. I'm excited to hear. Hopefully from the students. Not that I don't want to hear from you, but I'd love to hear from the students how they enjoyed the trip. So run it through Mr. Jolly, and yeah, that would be great.
Mr. Wilson, if you could, and thank you for your patience with all of our questions because they were valuable. Before you leave us, can you, just so that we are all on the same page regarding your 501c3, and to share how you manage the separation from your 501c3 from the district, so we, just everybody understands, please.
Oh, it's separate.
I know. I want to make sure everybody else understands.
It was created in 2000, and we became a nonprofit organization in 2005. It was there was a struggle financially and other things. I've been spending more time with the students. I started noticing certain needs that they were needing that we wasn't able to provide, or the cost wasn't, we wasn't able to provide that cost. So one of the things that I went out and did was just, I was asking my booster parents at that time, so let's go nonprofit because we can get, funding to support what we were doing. And ended up having to do it on my own. We went nonprofit and we've been getting support. This past right before COVID, Cavaliers and they sponsored and donated $10,000 to the organization. This year, we were able to give out $7,000 in scholarships that we got over there to our students that are in college. The kids, when they're in college, we want to keep them in college. So that's the incentive there. So I got a lot of students. Why did other kids? I didn't get it. They have to fill out an application. They have to give us a summary of the report. Why they would be want to receive this donation. So that's where it is. As far as it being separate, I'll make sure that we're separate, but it does help when they're filling the gap when the school district is not able to fill in the gap. Like this trip, we're covering all. We also help with scholarships. We help with tutoring. We get resources for our students, college prep. We have former alumni who've been a part of street music industry. They come back and say some of them take the trips with us, and they help tutor the students. I can send you guys and let you see, how the state tables actually work once we get into hotels and things like that. So it's not a fun time for the students, but we also give them an opportunity to, complete their work.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Safe travels and do us proud.
We would represent the city, school district, and statewide.
Yes,
Okay.
you are. There you go.
Be
All right, thank you,
safe.
Mr. Wilson.
We got
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
All righty. As we move on with our agenda, we go into section.
We have to vote.
We have to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. We do have to vote on Thank you, Mimi.
Pass it out.
You just, yeah, you can just, we can pass them around. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
need to apologize.
Forgot all about the vote.
Yeah.
All right. So as board, are there any further, thanks, Mimi. Are there any further comments, questions? Okay, hearing none. Dr. Rock, can you go ahead and call the roll for item 2?
Mrs. Newman,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. All right, now we can move on to item 3. Our board governance work. Oops, sorry about that. I hope everybody had time to go through the documents over the weekend. Wanted to make sure they were in everyone's hands. So we had time to review and comment review and prepare prior to today's meeting. Wanted to start off with item 3.1, which is a revisit to our protocol, because this is the one body of work that we do need to continue working on. The numbers are wrong on the newer agenda. I'm sorry. It's our board protocols. That will be our first work set. So in our last meeting, we made suggestions, and those suggestions are in blue font. So the edits in blue are based on what we discussed during our last work session. So I just want to run through these. As a reminder, everybody asked that we go ahead and put them in the format that we had seen in our appendix of our workbook. And so just as we go through this, I want to make sure that we're good with the edits and that we're also good with the protocols being in the right section. So under the meeting preparation, there's 3 protocols. We made edits to A and C. So if you guys can please take a few minutes and read through A and C on your own, and then we'll take a few minutes to discuss. Okay, just checking in. Has everybody had a chance to read?
Yep.
And if so, let's talk about A first. When we last spoke, we wanted to make sure that A read, as the district's chief executive officer, the superintendent shall address the board to make proposals, recommendations, and suggestions on behalf of the district's administration and staff. We added, being sure to share information supporting said recommendations / suggestions to the board in accordance with policy 0165.1C. So I'm sorry we don't have our system up to date that we could go in and pull up that policy. I'm sorry.
I did print it out.
Okay.
Do you want me to read it?
If you could read it real quick.
So 0165.1C says the agenda for each regular meeting is available via board docs as a draft for board members, so as to provide proper time for the member to study the agenda. Generally, the agenda is available 1 week prior to the scheduled regular meeting via board docs as a draft for the study of the agenda by the member. The agenda for a special meeting will be delivered at least 24 hours before the meeting, consistent with provisions calling for special meetings.
So we just made sure that our protocol stayed in guidance and in line with our board policy. So before we move forward, are we fine with leaving that as it's been edited and as it's stated?
It's fine with me. It's fine.
I think so. I think it's okay.
Okay. All right. Then going to letter C, ensuring meetings are managed in a governance mindset, linking the board agenda to our strategic goals and moral imperative.
Clarification? May I ask for some clarification on that?
Mm-hmm.
So are we saying that the governance mindset is linking the board agenda to our strategic goals and our moral imperative? Is that what we're saying?
No, we're saying that we personally, individually, and collectively as a unit, we keep that governance mindset top of mind in all that we do. So paying attention to and adhering to our norms that we
Right.
set, all of that, working from that space to remember what we're supposed to be doing and how we're supposed to be behaving as board members. So it's working from a governance mindset.
So then the linking the board agenda to our strategic goals and our moral imperative, should that or could that be a separate line? Or that's why I was asking, is it do the two?
I know when we talked about it with Deb, she linked it all together. So I just did the M dash because we talked about it in the meeting. That was one of the examples that she gave, and it was one of the examples in the workbook, making sure that we keep our agenda, which is something that Cheryl and Terry and Steve have said from OSB as well. Always try to keep our strategic plan aligned with our agenda items to make sure we're governing back to that plan. So it could be a sub bullet, it could be a separate bullet. I'm good either way. What do the rest of the board members feel?
Madam Chair, I know we changed it and added C to it, but the only question I have is the governance mindset. And I know somewhere it read in there behavior. I didn't know. I know I just heard you say the behavior of a board member, and I didn't see how we could tie the behavior of a board member to governance mindset.
Well, the governance mindset is how we function.
Correct.
It's our overall behavior, how we think, how we function, how we position our questions, remembering to think from a governance space versus a space of micromanagement, remembering to stay in our lane and not in the lane of the administration team. So that's how they encapsulate it. Governance mindset. That's a whole body of how we're supposed to behave. It's how we're supposed to think. It's how we're supposed to act.
No, I'm fine with governance mindset. I'm fine with it. I was just saying for the behavior. I mean, maybe behavior.
That falls under norms, I think, the behavior portion.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. This is like meeting prep.
I got you.
That section. So is that bringing clarity?
No, but we can carry on. I mean, I'm trying to link them together.
So these are important because this is what we're going to be managing ourselves by. We're building the foundation now that we hope to leave as our legacy, the future boards, on how they're supposed to function and act as a board. So we want to make sure we've got this stuff buttoned up really well and that we're all on the same page, because once we approve all of this, we then have to make sure we're going to govern ourselves by this so that when we have situations where we don't necessarily function the way we're supposed to be functioning, we can kind of say, hey, member so-and-so, you broke a norm, or, you're forgetting what we're supposed to be doing, the lane we stay in. So I just want to make sure we're all good to make sure we're good with this when we get done with it. So if there's any ambivalence, it would be great to hear it now so that we can fix it. So it's something that we're all on board with.
Yeah, I like the governance mindset. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just trying to, maybe behavior. When you said it, I'm on the thing of behavior of the governance mindset.
Understood, but under this category is meeting preparation.
Okay.
How are we preparing for our meetings?
I'm good.
So is there behavior? I'm sorry, may I?
Yes.
is there behavior that you're seeing with meeting preparation that would make that more clear
Good
for you?
question.
No,
Okay,
we're good. We're good. Go ahead.
okay. Well then, Madam Chair, I don't know if anyone else has any concerns with it. We can leave it like that.
I can drop it down and having that link in the board agenda. That can be a separate bullet. That can become letter D.
It's, I'm good with whatever the will of the board is.
Is everybody else good with the first portion of C?
I am.
Yes.
I mean, when I think about governance mindset, I think about, again, positive behavior when coming into a meeting. And like you said, you're talking about how to behave when you're coming into a meeting. And this governance mindset, it's okay to agree and disagree, but it's how, as we as board members, relate to each other.
Right.
So yeah, I'm fine with it.
Okay, doke. So the next section is conducting meetings. The two I moved under there were existing protocols that we didn't make any changes to. So it's just to ensure efficient and effective board meetings. Participants are encouraged to be brief with their presentations and remarks. Board members are to address those issues found on the agenda, prepare for the meeting at hand. Board members shall curtail discussions which have become repetitive or otherwise unproductive. Members of the board will exhibit common courtesy and respect for all speakers and presenters at board meetings. Generally, the board will not act on complaints brought forth by members of the public during board meetings if the board lacks adequate information on the subject to make a reasoned decision. So that was just part of how we conduct our meetings. So are we good with those being in that category?
I'm good with that.
All righty. Moving along, board structure and operations. Under A, communication between board members will manage all board/district related official conversations with district staff shall occur through the superintendent and treasurer following policies 01481B, 3112B, and 4112B. Any personnel complaints, received by the board or individual board members shall be referred to the superintendent or treasurer. Again, the only items there that were edited was all copy in blue. Or did anybody else come up? So I want to make sure, and again, I am apologizing. I did not realize we weren't going to be able to go online and pull up these policies because I didn't print them and bring them. So basically, these policies are very clearly, they very clearly articulate how board members and staff manage our district-related conversations. It has nothing to do with any personal relationships that we have, because we all have personal relationships with some of the folks. But this is strictly about how we function if it's board or district-related business. So is everybody okay with the way that A was rewritten?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
So I'm probably going to be a little difficult. But so when I first read it,
Mhm.
it seemed really wordy to me. Communication between board members will manage all board district related conversations with staff shall occur through the superintendent. Could we not just say communication between board members with district staff shall occur through the superintendent, and not say will manage all board conversations?
The only reason that was in there because there was a big discussion over board related. So
Right, I
I'm
remember
good
that.
either
I
way
remember
because
that.
I don't like wordy stuff.
Yeah.
I believe in concise statements.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, you could do between board members with districts. Well, yeah, honestly, if it's we're really talking about, if you're referring to this policy 0148.1B, that one there is talking about all communications policies and directives of the board of staff interest and concern to the staff. So it's talking about the staff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we need to include anything about district related official conversations. Just say that it's pertaining to staff. Wait, like I said the first time.
If you can just like send that to me, I'm fine with it. I just want to make sure everybody else is fine with it because, like I said, there was a big discussion on that topic last time. So I tried to clean it up to accommodate everybody.
And I think you did a good job because when I read that, I think it's covered all of our bases when I read that. So I was fine with it.
So maybe we can say communication between board members.
You want the policies? Do you want to see the policies?
I don't need to see the policies. I'm just trying to clean up the gookiness from that first.
So maybe you want district related official conversation.
Well,
I just thought it was kind of wordy.
Well, that's because we had the conversation with Mr. Roberts last time, wanting to make sure that we understood we all have friends, which we do. We all have friends throughout the district. And we were trying to make sure there was clear understanding that it is conversations that are just either board or district related conversations that we absolutely have to abide by the policies. So it could say communication between board members, communications about all board/district related conversations. We'll clean it up because it is too wordy.
Take a look at the policy because the policy really does kind of make it pretty concise.
Oh, I know, that's why I pulled it.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to accommodate.
Yep.
So we'll pull and we will.
As a matter of fact, 0148, 3112, and 4112 all pretty much say the exact same thing in their, item B.
Mm-hmm. They sure do. Okie dokie. So that one will come back with an edit. For letter B, the only thing that we added there was to say an update. So the board and administration shall review and update the board's district's board policy manual quarterly for effectiveness and shall revise, remove, blah, blah, blah. The rest of the verbiage stay the same. So are we good with that? Are we good with that, Mr. Jolly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. So the last sentence says the board and the administration shall strive to implement board policy consistently, but the board doesn't implement the policy. Mr. Jolly's team administrates is the one that puts the policy, make sure the policies are in place. So the question is, should it say the board and the administration shall strive, or do we say that the board will depend on the superintendent, to implement the policy?
We can even just say the administration shall strive to implement, because that's the old copy. We just plugged it in. So it could just read, the administration shall strive to implement board policy consistently. I'm thinking, I don't know, because I wasn't here when this was written. I'm thinking some of these protocols were written with the board and administration team kind of along that same space, because to work together, technically the board does work with the administration. We review the policy. There are policies that some boards will create, but to your point, we don't implement. So honestly, I personally think we could possibly even get rid of that last sentence, because the board work is the first sentence. Because that second sentence is all about the administration implementing it, and we don't do that.
Right.
But again, that's old verbiage. We just didn't decide last time to take it out.
I mean, we could just say the board will, I don't know what the correct word is, but basically say that we will rely on the superintendent to ensure that policies are implemented or something along those lines. If we're going to put anything in there at all.
Yeah, when I read that.
That's okay, you're fine.
When I read that, the board and the administration shall strive to implement, I didn't look at the word as that we are developing the policy. We are just abide by the policy. What is all, we're gonna be consistent with policy that already exists. That's what I got out of it.
Okay.
And when you say implement, again, I thought it meant, again, we're gonna abide by what is already written.
Well, the implementation is what Mr. Jolly and his team do, not us.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's my point. They
Mhm.
have already written it. They have already developed it, the policy, correct?
The policy has been reviewed by them, by us, and then approved.
Right.
But then they have to implement it, not
Right.
us.
And then we follow their recommendation. We are consistently following what he has recommended.
No, they are consistently implementing the policy. Same way for every student, every situation.
Okay.
No deviation.
All right.
Is that helping?
Yeah.
Because I honestly, I think that last sentence can just come out. It doesn't apply to us.
Yeah, we could just bring that out. I agree. Because like I said, when I read it, it was a little different.
Yeah, understood. Is everybody okay with us striking that last sentence?
Girl?
Yes.
Okay, Ray?
Yep.
Okay, it's gone.
Okay.
All right, letter C, the board will plan for and engage in productive work session meetings. We good with that?
I'm good for
All
that.
right, that one is good. Next is D, the board will orient new board members sharing the governance mindset / guidance, because I want to see what you guys want to say there, followed by the district and the roles, responsibilities, and work of the board. I should say with those individuals.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
The board will orient, or is it the board president that's going to do the orientation?
So I know some of the books say the board president, some books just say a delegated board member, but the board president does delegate. If somebody wants, say, hey, who wants to do it this time? So I can't speak for anybody else that might sit in this seat, but I think if we keep it broad, the board, but I would love to hear.
So I'm okay, however we decide it, whether it's the board or the board president. I think that the overarching goal is to make sure that we're leaving a document that people can follow behind. So I think we kind of want to spell it out.
Be
how
prescriptive.
we do it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then if a new board comes in and they decide to do it different, at least they've got the footprint for how we did it.
Okay. So is everybody okay with adding the board president will orient new board members?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Board president. Somebody got to talk to them. Somebody will work with a new board member.
Well, and I think that the next step would be for us to actually have a discussion about what does orientation look like? What topics do we feel are important to cover? So that we know exactly what kind of information Earl got when he came into the board, or vice, whoever comes in.
And it's consistent each
Yep.
time there's a new board member.
Right.
So yeah, I'm good with
And
president.
I'm going to say this, and I think that it should be board members that take on the responsibility. I don't think it should be one particular person. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if I look at, I'm going to use Meeman as an example regarding policy. I think she is very knowledgeable and skilled on policy. And I think for a new board member, that would really be helpful for a new board member to come to Mimi and let her explain, what policy that she feels that is very important that they read and they learn about. That's what I'm saying is I don't like a responsibility always go on one person.
I understand, but I'll play devil's advocate for a little bit.
Okay.
Mimi's not always going to be here. I'm not always going to be here.
Right, that's
So
true.
if we have somebody else,
Right.
if like Mimi said, we're going to build a roadmap.
Right.
But if it starts with whoever is sitting in this seat, take me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But whoever is sitting in this seat, they know we've got a new board member or two.
Right.
That board president, who is the spokesperson
Delegate.
of the board, And we're going to get to that. But the new board, whoever's sitting in this seat, has an option to sit down with the new board members, follow the roadmap that I know that Mimi and Earl are working on as they're building out the new member orientation guide, and they should be able to follow, because the board president at every organizational meeting is established as the spokesperson for the board. Now, that board president does have the option, as I had said, of delegating and say, member so-and-so or so-and-so, do you have time to follow the list that we've put together and not deviate from that? To say, can you orient this new person and bring them up to speed? So I hear what she's saying, and I'm not saying it just because I'm sitting in this seat. I'm saying it because the way our policy already states what the board president does do. Okay. I do have a question where I had put sharing the governance mind slash guidance. Do we want to say sharing our, the district's WHCSD governance mindset? No, well, we say followed by the district. Do we want to say mindset or guidance?
I would say mindset, and I would change followed by to.
Say that again, Earl?
I would go with mindset as opposed to guidance.
Okay.
And if I did that, I would change followed by to with the district.
But it's followed by the district. Sharing the governance mindset followed by the district. The district is following this governance mindset. We've elected as a board team to follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it will say.
So we erasing guidance and just put mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't sure which word I wanted y'all to choose.
Sharing.
Want me to read the whole thing?
Yeah.
The board president will orient new board members sharing the governance mindset followed by the district and the roles and responsibilities and the work of the board.
I'm good with that.
Okay. So letter D, the next section is board accountability. We didn't touch the first one. The second one, I made sure, because our old protocols never seemed to include the treasurer. So I made sure we added the treasurer where appropriate. Did not bother C. Excuse me. We made sure we discussed letter D. The board president will communicate the position of the board on an issue of controversy within the community. And then C, conducting the superintendent and treasurer formative and summative evaluations annually. This is our accountability section. So are we good with D and E?
Yes.
Is that a full consensus?
Yes. Yes.
Barbara, you good?
Yeah, and I'm good with it because I'm looking at the issues of controversy. And when I saw that, I said, okay, that it should be. It's not saying that Ray can't come to my senior meeting and speak. It's not saying
It does not say that at all, no.
Okay. That's all I
And I think so this is a good time to kind of segue on that topic. I want to make sure we all understand what whoever take me out of this seat, because I kind of feel like sometimes it gets directed at me personally. So I'm personally taking me out of the seat. So taking me out of this seat, whoever is sitting in this seat, the board sets the policy at the beginning of the year for the board president to follow the roles and responsibilities set aside for that position by OSBA and NSBA, and it's clearly in all of our little board books. And I think it's time for us as a board to make sure that we as a board understand all the roles of our board. But we're not going to go there right now. So I want to make sure that as we're talking about this, because we've had this conversation before, about me not needing to do this, but the board does say that the board president does speak on behalf. So to come to a meeting, we should really be following our chain of command and say, hey, board president, are you available? If Mr. Jolly can't come, can you come and speak? And the board president says no. So it should then go to the whoever's sitting in the vice presidency. That's the normal chain of command. And if one of these three people can't, then it's a, hey, board member Gator or board member Freeman, because then it goes where we followed the full chain of command. So that's the way it is set in our policies. So we're not going against policy. When the district invites the board president to come and speak at different things, they're following through on policy. And again, take me out of the seat. It could be anybody in this seat, because I want it to be really clear that it's whoever's sitting here. It's not just me.
All right.
Okay. So are we good with D and E in that section for board accountability?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Mimi, we good? I see your brain ticking.
No, I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good. I'm just thinking about what you were saying before, but I'm good. You said you don't want to do a deep dive in it, but I'm good.
Just roll with me. So then the next section is the board as community leaders. We added B and C, visiting schools and attending district events. I really can't read, people. And visibility in the Tri-Cities community events, which I think we all do relatively well anyway. So is that good?
Yes, as long as somewhere in this protocol we can clarify what visiting schools and attending district events really looks like. I think that might be in the norms, because remember, I'll double check it.
I know our policies are very clear, like visiting schools. What we're supposed to do as board members before we go visiting, just popping up in schools. Our policy very clearly says we give a call to the superintendent to get permission, and then we make sure that he lets his building administration know. Because when we just pop up and we don't have kids in the school, because like if we still had kids, we are telling the office we're coming in under parental.
Yeah, as a parent.
Mm-hmm. We're not coming in with our board hat on. And we're going over this because we know this has been an issue in the past. So that's a good thing to bring up. So should we add, should we plug in following policy, blah, 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 whatever that policy is?
I don't think so. I think the current board that we have now is not going to just show up at the school without Mr. Jones. I mean, that's not saying that. I know it happened quite often in the past, but now I wouldn't go to a school without Mr. Jolly knowing about or what my purpose of even coming there.
So go 10 years in the future. Are any of us on this board?
Or even go 10 years in the
no,
in the
but
past.
you know, but it's sad. You still putting it there.
All it says is visiting schools and attending district events. It doesn't say
Right, we need to add that.
we will
Follow
adhere
policy.
to the
Mhm.
policy, or we will, we agreed to let the superintendent know. We don't
Right.
always have to say, what in accordance to this
Right.
policy, we could
Right. I
say
think we need-
in this here, we could add a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we need to be clear and precise as to what are we actually saying.
Yeah, because if I drop off tomorrow and we get another board member on here, you don't know that board member is going to know how to.
Please don't say that.
Well, I'm just saying, anybody, anything could happen. But, if we lose a board member for whatever reason
Right.
and have to bring somebody else on board, the whole idea, I'll say it again, is that these protocols, norms, and principles are designed to kind of help guide not just us, but community members, incoming people.
Yeah, I think we need to be precise with that. Tracy,
Mm-hmm.
I think we just need.
Mm-hmm. So Mimi, you want to be prescriptive versus just saying following whatever our policy is about that.
At least add a little bit more. It's something that states that we agree to contact the superintendent before we visit a school in accordance to, policy number 2431.42 hike.
That'll work. All right. So I think we're at a good place with our protocols. We'll make this final round of edits. I'll get them over to you guys. When I send the final round around, I'm going to get rid of all the blue copy because at this point we're saying the blue copy, would except those few areas that we had discussion on, are good to go. And we will keep it moving. The next thing for final review is just our board principles. Just before I'm not going to read through them. We said at our last session that they were good. I just want to make sure, take a few minutes before we say yep, and we're going to say if they're yay or nay, good to go forward with, and if they are, we'll be ready to vote on these at the October 20th meeting. There were no changes made to these. This is just final draft.
Yep.
Okay. Are we good with those?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
Are you good with those?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so these are ready for approval. Last but not least are our board norms. I saved these for last for a couple of reasons. Just want to make sure 1, 2, and 3 we're good with. Number 4, we still had some conversation about, and I wanted to have that conversation as a board because we needed some clarity. This was again communicating with staff in official capacity. To make sure everybody was good with how it was stated. I know there was a problem with how it was originally stated. I came up with a statement that reads almost what our protocol reads: ensuring board members manage all board district related official conversations with staff following established board policies, blah, 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 except in circumstances where the board president seeks approval to speak with staff in unique situations. And then some of that other stuff was my just sharing with you guys that the verbiage from all 3 policy consistently states thus, and then I've just put what those policies state for item B. So is everybody okay with that optional statement? Does that feel better versus the first bullet?
I mean, it really is a repeat of what we just discussed in the first one in the protocols. So yeah, that's better. I mean, it still has the little lengthy portion to it that ensuring board members, we will support this by ensuring board members will manage all district related. Yeah, we can take out official maybe. Just district related, either or, district related or official.
I was only being real.
I'm just making a suggestion. Yep.
I would prefer it be left in.
That's fine. Do we want to add it to the protocol then? I mean, we just.
I had it over there too. Right? I had it over there. I had the official in parens.
But that was the one that I had said, can we take that out and shorten it?
I know. They're going to read the same thing so that we're consistent.
You say you do or don't want it to read the same?
I said they're going to read the same thing. Okay. So we'll be consistent.
Yeah, I think we could leave official in their capacity. So.
Okay, so this will be the, get out of here. Don't bring it over this way.
Oh, he's all over the place.
So,
I felt him in my hair once or twice.
the next one,
So I'm sorry, so which way are we going with this one?
ensuring board members manage all board, we're going to use the optional statement.
Okay.
Okay?
Right.
We good?
We good.
The next one that there was issue with was forwarding all written, verbal, and electronic correspondence to the superintendent/treasurer for action, including communications from community members. We added that one. So I just want to make sure we're good with that. And I added a note of clarity when we were working with Deborah Keys Wright. We originally agreed to this norm under our communications norm. We will follow all communications from the community to the superintendent.
So I have a question. Because you guys know this is something that I tend to harp on, and I know it kind of works people's nerves, but if we are only forwarding the communication to the superintendent, he doesn't always let us know, and this is not a dig at you, so if it's coming off that way, don't take it that way. We don't always know that something's been sent to him. He might handle it and keep it moving, or maybe he forgets. So can we add that if we're going to do this, I'd like there to be some element of it stating that we're going to share it with the board.
We can put CC. I can't speak for anybody else.
I'm open for discussion.
I don't need all those emails.
Neither do I.
If to me, like I'm going to use an example.
I have one too. So
I had, and it's probably the same one because I think the person called 3 of us. I
Oh,
had
yes.
someone call, and I explained the process on what needed to be done. Explained to that individual that the person that called them wasn't even allowed to do that unless they were a legal guardian of that child.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, this is
And
different.
they called, I know the 2 board members that they called. And I explained, these are our protocols, which we've shared with you before. And if the legal guardians have not called that school for blah, 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 it's not this family member's job to do that. And this family member calling you isn't helping because there's nothing you can do. There's nothing I as a school board member can do, even though we do give Jolly the heads up. Hey, are you aware of this? Blah, blah, blah. And then when I do, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then because it's a BAU situation that didn't have anything to do with the operations or the well-being of the district. It was a personal situation that really the parents should have been handling. But I don't know. I have no idea why they weren't. I don't know why. Because even when I asked, so did the parent talk to the school? Yep. Well, okay. No resolution. Nope. Did they talk to Jolly? Well,
This was not the parent or the guardian. This is just someone that
else in the family. Somebody else
Okay.
in the family.
Okay.
So at that point, we got FERPA. Am I saying that right? The FERPA laws. We can't give any information out because we got to keep the kids' stuff private. So with your example.
So my example is just a little bit different because this was something that could have impacted the board. So the situation is that the conversation that we had where we received a text message saying, hey, would you, okay.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. But what if the other board members got the same thing? So, I've mentioned this once before. I think at the very least, there should be some kind of a discussion about what information should be shared with the board. I hear what you guys are saying about, no, I don't need all that, but there are some things that we should be sharing. We don't communicate the way we used to, the way we probably should, in terms of making sure that we're all on the same page. And I would like to see if maybe we can work on that at some point.
Go ahead, Barbara.
So, Mimi, you don't think it's Mr. Jolly's call to say because he's really good at sending us everything. But I just think that I'm gonna use myself as an example. if there's a case that's coming through and a parent approaches me and says, Ms. Moomin, I need some expertise, because I know you're a retired social worker, I need your advice on this. I'm going to direct the person to Mr. Job.
Okay.
Okay? Now, are you saying that I should share my conversation with his mom with you guys? Remember, you got the confidentiality laws.
You don't have to give all the details, but
No.
go ahead. I'm listening.
So I just feel for myself, I just feel more comfortable if I just give it to this girl and let him handle it.
So what happens if that parent now approaches me and says, hey, the board was supposed to do something, and now I'm saying,
Well, what could the board do?
I was just
for
going
the-
to say,
I, but the point is, the information wasn't shared with, hold on just a minute. I know you want to jump in on this. I'm going to say this again. My point is, we at some point should have a discussion about what information we do feel is pertinent to be shared amongst the board. Mr. Jolly does a good job, but Mr. Jolly's not going to be here forever. And is this the pattern that we want to set up with another superintendent coming in who's not as good at sharing information
So,
or making
if
sure?
I can real quick, I hear what you're saying, and I'm hearing what you're saying. There are certain situations, because I totally forgot about the other situation. There are situations such as that one the board does need to know. So we need to define what some of those situations need to be. Something to your point with your example, Miss Barbara, I don't think that needs to come, because that's between you, that parent, and you sent them to the right place.
Right, so he has a protocol that he has to follow.
Correct.
So,
Even with the situation where I got the call Friday night, I'm like, dude, that family member can't speak. I know what's happening and I hear the concern, but if that person isn't the legal parent or guardian, they can't do anything. That person's parents needs to follow this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if they follow, they follow part of it, they didn't follow all of it. And then again, because it's coming in from another family member, I can't ask that parent, hey, did y'all do blah, blah, blah? Did you do this? These are the protocols. So at that point, I said, hey, this is what we have to do, as we've shared with you before. And then I called y'all and said, hey, are you aware of this? And I don't remember what you told me, because I moved on right on to the next. But it was a family member that didn't have any legal rights, thank you, over that child. So, but to the point, and we'll share the situation. Mimi and I got a text for something, and it was something that we both knew. Well, it came late at night, so I ignored it. Did you get it? Late at night, so I ignored it. Mimi, I looked and I was like, whatever. Mimi thought about it, and then she did communicate with the individual that goes against what we're supposed to do.
It could potentially be an issue. So yeah.
Nope, he didn't get it. So the long story short, there are some things we do need to define. So we'll leave that as a
Action item.
an action item. Thank you, Ray. Action item to define. Go ahead, Earl.
Real quick, I'm thinking back to when we were talking, like the governance mindset, where we're like up high and we're not getting into the weeds. So I don't really see the need for us to delve into all of the disparate issues that Mr. Jolly and his staff have to deal with on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. I don't really think that's our role. I think we have a role to govern, and they have a role to handle district business, and I don't think the two should be mixed.
So I agree with you, and what we're saying is different from what you're saying. What we're saying is we got a text asking us to support a GoFundMe.
oh, really?
And to her point, say that went to you. You didn't know that that's against what, and I'm just saying, I'm just roll with me here. You don't know that we can't do it. We both saw it. So like I said, it's 10:45. Then I'm like, really, people? And I flipped it back and I went back to sleep. Mimi was like, So then I got up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, So I called Jolly immediately and said they can't do, because then I went online to look. We knew I couldn't do it legally from there. And then Mimi said, I think you called Jolly too.
No, I called
You called me.
and when you said you already talked to Jolly about it, so I didn't
Right.
do anything
So
more
there
about
are
it.
some situations in this particular case, we probably should have said, hey y'all, if y'all get this, we can't do this. And so certain situations we do need to kind of keep each other in the loop. But for the most part, I think we're all saying we're not getting in the weeds.
Right.
We're just saying we want to make sure that in those things that could impact us legally, so maybe that's how we clean that up legally, put the district in a legal disparity. Then we can, we'll clean it up to say something like that. So if you'll work with me on that one, we can take that away. And then that's here we go. So with the norms, then what I'm going to do is clean it up again. I'll get all the blue. We'll make all final edits. We'll get all the extra clarity notes out so y'all can take a look at number 4, and then we'll clean them up. But excuse me, real quickly, so that we don't leave the ladies out there too long, so we can go into executive session. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. I hate to put
You're out.
As we're wrapping up the norms, I want to make sure that as a board, we are truly embracing these norms. And I'm gonna be teacher here a minute, but we'll operate from a platform of respect. We'll always promote the best interests of the district. We will always act in a professional manner. We'll communicate openly, and the board will trust and respect the superintendent and treasurer and their teams to fulfill their duties as assigned. The reason I saved this one for last, because one, I knew we had some stuff to clean up, but I also wanted to use making sure we're all in agreement with our norms, because this is what we're going to abide by in every single board meeting, every board setting. This is how we need to act when we're out, because we're always representing this district. And I wanted to kind of bring it back to what went on in this boardroom last Wednesday. I'm not bringing it up to belabor, but I'm just bringing it up as a teachable moment to say, we broke norms 1, 3, and 4. We could even say we broke norm number 2 last week because there was behavior that was just inappropriate. And so I just want to make sure as we're working on this body of work for us today and board members of the future, that we make sure we're good with what we've agreed to, because we will not only we're not setting these up just to have them and make them sound good, that we're setting them up so that we can work individually and collectively to really embrace and deliver on each of these norms at all times. And then the other thing that I want to make sure of, that we really hold ourselves accountable for really understanding all of our roles as board members. Because the last meeting was upsetting to me for a whole lot of reasons that I'm not even going to delve into, because that's last week. But these books that OSBA, Barbara, I know you talk about them all the time, but I read mine, I keep mine. In fact, one of these, I got this one, I got 3 of them, so one stays with me all the time. But this really talks about our role as board members. These 2 books I got, I think the first year I was board president, so I could make sure that I knew exactly what my role was. And I keep these in hand so that I can understand what I'm supposed to be doing in this seat. This boardmanship book, mine stays dog-eared, because I'm looking at this thing. Anybody coming behind me be like, oh my God, this lady crazy, because there's notes written all over the place. As a board, it is really critical that we really understand our roles as a unit, our roles individually as board members, and our roles as those who will be, entrusted to sit in a seat of leadership. So I don't want to belabor. I really don't want to lecture, because I am so not in a position to lecture anybody. All I'm doing is asking that as we continue to build out our norms, that we are really going to embrace these and live by them. Go ahead, Mimi.
Only thing I was going to say, I won't dive into like the roles of the president and the board and things like that, but I will ask if the board will consider adding a certain element of the roles of the president and the vice president and the boards to the handbook, because I think that's important for people to understand what is involved in being the board president and what is your role as vice president, and how do I, as someone who's not a leader on, part of the leadership team per se, how do I work with the leadership team, meaning the president and the vice president? So if you guys are good with that, I'd when Earl and I get ready to meet again, I would like to maybe incorporate some of that language in there.
I think it's a good idea because it helps a new board member.
I
Okay.
think that's an excellent idea.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And if we can reference it to the policy that we have, don't we have the policy that?
We have a policy, but that policy doesn't go
I
into
know
the
it doesn't
same
go into detail.
level of detail as
the books
the
do.
NSBA books.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've printed out so many governance handbooks, and pretty much all of them have an element in there of that the board's role, the president's role, and it's all pretty much the same. They just use different, yeah. So anyhow, I appreciate the board's latitude with that.
So I do appreciate. I think we've come a long way. Mr. Jolly, I know we want to get the ladies in for executive session.
Please.
The next part of our this work is to go into page, I think it's 67, 60, 66, 67. It's how we begin to, I might have the wrong pages, in our workbook so that we can begin embedding our protocols, our norms, and everything in our everyday. It's page 70, I'm sorry, governance, culture, progression, how we are going to work to make sure we're embedding all this and all that we do going forward. Beyond just, doing all the hard work that we've done. Because we've done a lot of hard work, and I just want to say it's appreciated because I think what's coming behind us will be good to go. So if there's nothing else, we'll get the edits in. Mimi and I will connect. We'll get the verbiage up for that one. And then if there's nothing else, I do want to, you know what, I'm going to ask a favor. Do you guys mind if we switch 4 and 5 so we can go into executive session since the ladies are here?
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
get them in.
Can we have a motion to go into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official or regulated individuals, students, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee or regulated individual.
Madam Chair, I move that we go into executive session to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or official, or the investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee or regulated individual.
Thank you. It's been moved. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll? The roll for the
Mr.
vote.
Freeman,
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Aye.
Hi, Maya.
Thank you so much waiting for us. Oh,
You can come in though. You can come on in and have a seat.
okay, my
Welcome.
Okay.
Okay, you gonna turn? Yeah, that's fine.
So,
Yeah, sure.
Well, but it's the whole meeting.
Oh, y'all got the links? The links are. you have the link, because I know Rail said she saw. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah, because Rail got it.
Oh, shit, okay, so, look, you know,
I understand.
I can text it.